when people are trying to make a transition in their life, what takes the longest is figuring out what to do and then making the decision to actually do those things and take action, and be consistent. So when, people talk about, it took me 6 months, it took me 3 years. If you actually calculate the time that they actually spent on the things that they needed to do, it's only a fraction of the amount of time, because many things just don't take that long. It takes a long time to make the decision to do it, right?
Right.
So then you're a Marine, you're a firefighter. Either one of those would be perfect for having in your background to pursue stunts, acting, action acting, stunt acting, any one of those. But the fact that you're both, you already have instant credibility with people, with casting, with productions, with stunt coordinators, because you are what you are. You're a Marine. You're military versus not, right?
Right.
So any military role, just so you know, if you don't know, any military role, if we're auditioning an actor that is a Marine and an actor who is not, and let's say you guys are just like, acting wise, we could go with either one of you. Acting level is the same.
Right.
Well, who do you think we're going to go with? Right? The guy who's going to act like he's a Marine in the show, or the guy who's a Marine? Right? You already have the depth of experience that the other actor doesn't have. So in many ways, you turn on the TV, you look at the shows, how many shows have military or law enforcement in the show, right? It's like pretty much every show. There's a police officer, a special agent, military person, and then firefighting, right? Chicago PD, Chicago Fire, there's a whole bunch of shows that...
There's a million shows, Law and Order, that you could go off.
Yeah, that is, utilize those types of roles and characters. So tell me, you've been doing this for this long. You've been thinking about trying to go the action route, and now where are you at? So you've been doing this for this long, you've been thinking about it for this long, and now where are you at?
Yeah, absolutely. So just to give you a little background about myself, I joined the Marine Corps in 2016, so I got out in 2022. I joined FDNY, so the New York City Fire Department, in 2020. Still currently working here. Currently in the Bronx right now. You can't tell from the music outside. Sorry about that. But acting, I've always been interested in it. A few of my family members, they've, my whole family on my dad's side is musicians. Some of them are actors. My uncle, he was born in Italy. He came here. He just played some small parts in A Bronx Tale, The Godfather 3, I think a couple episodes of Law and Order, just some small parts, stuff like that. My cousin right now, he's a producer out in LA. So he makes his own independent films, stuff like that. So he's been wanting me to get into it. So probably my interest in it has probably been in it for probably about 5-6 years now. And Dante's kind of been my, for lack of better words, my outlet for it. You know what I mean? He's kind of the guy that I'm always like, oh, I have a question. All right, I'm calling Dante. And again, him and me have been best friends for, I can't even tell you how many years, probably 20 years now since we were, little kids.
Yeah.
Truly. I don't think him and me have ever even been in an argument.
Wow.
He's like my brother. So anything acting-wise, stunt-wise, martial arts-wise, he's my guy.
What's your martial art background?
I just did mixed martial arts growing up, and then I've done a little bit of Krav Maga with Dante, probably over the past year.
Okay, and how did you guys meet?
Dante and me met in elementary school. So we lived in Warwick, Rhode Island.
Yeah.
And we met in elementary school. He lived probably about 3 streets away from me.
Oh my God, okay.
Freshman year, he moved 2 towns over. And then probably about 6 months later, I moved to the same town he lived in. Again, we were about 2 streets away from each other.
No way, that's crazy.
Yeah, so...
Just by chance, or your parents talked and they're like, yeah, okay, we're coming?
No, just by chance. Just the universe kind of set that up for us, so very grateful for that. Nice. Very cool. Okay, so... Yeah.
So then, then you've been thinking about this for 5-6 years, and there's a reason why you haven't just decided to go for it.
Yeah, so I mean, the reason is, being in the fire department is a big commitment.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like, to be honest with you, I'll never lie to you. I just feel like it's either one or the other for me.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, the fire department is, it's a lifestyle, it's a way of life. You know what I mean? It's all or nothing kind of deal, especially here, especially in the city. So, when I do something, I like to give it my 100%. I never want to, have some slack or fall back on anything. So, I just kind of feel stuck in the middle of that and acting, and I don't want to, use my resources like Dante or whoever and not give my 100%, if that makes sense.
I get it. So, so in your mind, you have a perception of how you think the world is and how you think you should be in the world versus the reality. So let me explain, okay? We are all limited by our own thoughts and experiences in life, yet this is why one of the sayings that we have is individually we can go faster, but together we can go much further. It's always easier to do things on our own because then we don't involve other people and we don't have to be accountable to anybody else. If I do it and I fail, it's all on me, nobody else is involved. Versus, well, I don't want to do something, involve my buddies, and then, they're trying to help me, but then if I fall short, I'm going to feel like I let them down. And so
Absolutely.
When you start to get into this industry, you're going to understand that it's like any other business. There's a lot of ups and downs, a lot of roadblocks. There's a huge learning curve. And when you're newer and you don't know many things, then it's going to be understandable to everybody who's ahead of you in the industry that they're going to look back and they're going to see what you're doing. They're going to have acceptance and understanding of your journey because they went through it. They understand. It's not necessarily all or nothing. Most people don't have the luxury to do that. They have to work a 9-to-5 job. They have to make their money. And then in their spare time, they pursue their dream. So you said you're caught in the middle. I'm going to propose 2 scenarios, okay? And then I'm going to add a bonus, a third. So scenario number 1 is you continue, and I'm going to label some things, and just disclaimer, not to make you feel bad or put you down or discredit you in any way, okay? I just want to be very straightforward. You can do what you're doing, or you can start pursuing acting. If you continue to do what you're doing, then essentially you are allowing your fear of the unknown and uncertainties of what you're able and capable of doing, what other people are going to think, then since you don't want to let them down or fall short, then if you continue to do what you're doing, right, then you'll never know, you'll have regrets, and you'll always live with that insecurity, knowing that you want to, but you're afraid to. Then you could jump and say, okay, you know what? You put in your time, you give your notice, you stop this, you go to this. And now you jump to acting and you put your heart and soul into it 100%. Well, at some point the money runs out. So you still will have to make money, and I'm going to advise you with a 5 to 10 year plan, not a 5 to 12 month plan. You need to be secure in your money because even when you start working in entertainment, there's ups and downs. You can make a lot of money and work nonstop for 4 months on a film, and then maybe a couple jobs here and there for the rest of the year or not. And at some point, 40, 50, 100 grand, especially if you're living and pursuing this dream, it starts to go really fast. So you want to have a game plan, and that strategy requires, if you're going to do it the best way, it requires that you have financial stability. Otherwise, the stress, the anxiety, and the mental health issues that come with scarcity and feeling like you cannot support yourself and you're struggling to make ends meet, that will affect your creativity. And we don't want that, okay? Right. So you would need to have that anyway, all right? So the bonus option is that since you need to have something as a base financially, right? Then there's a combination there. There's a way to do it where you're doing both until you can totally make the switch, okay? So let me throw out a couple scenarios, okay? What would it do for the morale, the enthusiasm, the camaraderie between you and your fire department brothers if you said, hey guys, like you started this path and then you book just a one-day co-star or, a one-week guest star role on a show, and they fly you out to Chicago for Chicago PD, right? Or Med or Chicago Fire, and you tell them, hey guys, I've been doing this thing. I'm gonna go and do this. I'm gonna shoot this show. It's just gonna be a week, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. They'd be like, go for it.
Okay, now imagine, now the show's coming out and you guys all get together and you sit down to watch the show together, right? And you get to play this cool role on TV. How do you think they're going to receive that?
Oh, they'd be ecstatic because they'd love it for me.
Then in what world do you think they are going to feel like you are letting them down?
That's a great question.
Okay, so you never thought about this before. Okay.
Not this in depth, no.
So this is the reality. Remember I said there's your perception and there's the reality, okay?
Yeah.
Now, imagine this. Imagine that over the course of 6 months, a year, 24 months, let's say you land a recurring role on a TV show and now like you're on the show, right? And we see you in all these episodes. And then you have to like take a leave, right? Say, hey, for 6 months, guys, like I gotta go do this, right? Who in your department is the one person that's gonna be like, that motherfucker taking off and leaving us, strapped here, and who's that one guy?
Off the top of my head, nobody that I can think of.
So in what world are you going to be letting them down? If you want to pursue something that you're very passionate about and you have a family full of artists. You already have a family full of creative artists, right?
Right.
It's not like you just, are the black sheep of the family and you're deciding that you're wanting to do something totally different, right? This is very much in line with your upbringing.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. And one of your best friends from childhood is also doing this as well, right? And so you see what he's doing, and now he moved to LA, and you're seeing, oh, okay, like maybe I can do this. Let's go back to now, what if you don't? And every time you turn on the TV, every time you go see a movie, you see someone that looks like you, talks like you, acts like you, maybe is even playing a firefighter on TV or in a film. What is your feeling going to be inside when you see that person doing a role that you know that you could do? What are you going to feel inside?
Probably pretty shitty feeling, regret.
Do you have kids?
No.
Do you want kids?
Eventually.
What are you going to tell your boys, your daughters, when that happens? What are you going to tell them when you see that and you want to teach them something about life? What are you going to tell them in terms of advice and going after your dreams?
It's going to be a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah, you got to think like, what kind of story are you going to tell then, right? So this is the difference between if you don't and if you do. If you do and you fail, at least you can say, hey, you know what? I did this. I tried my best. Wasn't in the cards for me, or, I realized that, it wasn't really what I wanted to do. Many things, right? But at least you can say that, look, I gave it a shot. We all have one shot this life to do whatever it is that we want to do, and maybe what we're meant to do. So there's a difference between the push and the pull theory when people are pushing you to do something, right? That only lasts for so long, because then you got to have people constantly pushing, right? But when you're being pulled in a certain direction, internally. Something inside is pulling you. You keep going down this path here, but something keeps turning your head over here. That's a sign, because you have a gut instinct about what it is that you want, what it is that you desire. Your mind will always be restless, never calm, until you actually explore that path, okay? So this is where it's silly in the beginning when you don't know what you need to know. There's so much you don't know. Why would you stop completely being a fireman and jump to the acting creative side when you don't even know? There's a learning curve, right? There's so much that you need to learn and transition through that it's gonna take time. So why not start the process, okay? You start taking a class, an acting class. You start learning about the business, okay? And if you're part of our community, you'll move faster. There's programs that you can do, right? So then you can move faster than most people. But the reason why most people won't do what you want to do is because of the fear of many things. And that's where your advantage is. Of all the people in your category, most will never actually do it, right? Do you know where the saying 1 in a million comes from?
1 in a million?
Yeah.
I do not.
Okay, it's a multiple of 3. This is how simple it is, okay? For every 100 people that watch TV and go, that would be cool to do that. I would like to do that. You know, just try it one time, right? For every 100 people, 1 person will take an acting class. For the 100 people that take an acting class, 1 person will get an agent. For those 100 people that get an agent, 1 person will book a job. So it's a rule of 3 times 100, right? 100 times 100 times 100 is a million. So actually, when you look at that, the 100 people that you're up against that are thinking about it, if you're the 1 person that does it, you're already way ahead of the game. Of the 100 people that take an acting class, and you're the 1 person that gets an agent, which, I mean, we can help you do that. It's not a big deal. Most people, because they have no idea how to do it, they think it's so far away. Oh man, you got these Hollywood dreams. Like, well, it's a business. Like, there's a way to do it. There's a strategy. You know, you get an agent, you get a manager, you submit for auditions, you work on your craft, just like anything else, right? You went through training and a transition from Marine to firefighter, right? You went through the training, you applied, you got the job, now you're getting paid. It's no different, okay? You go through the training, you apply, you get the job, you get paid in acting, okay? So I don't want it to be so scary or unknown. It's just a business. It's just like what you're doing now. It's just like any other business, but super difficult, very, very hard. Odds are way against you when you don't know how to do it. It's always difficult. But when you know how to do it, then it's just not so difficult anymore. Okay?
Great words. Thank you very much.
Let's see. You've got the look, right? Do you look like a fireman? Yes, especially with that shirt on. Do you look like a New York fireman? Well, you certainly sound like one with the accent, right? So you don't even need to work on an accent because you already have it. You could play any character that is New York, right, based. And then you actually have the skills, right? You have the real life experience. You didn't go take a class or a workshop. You know, here's a 3-day class for actors on what you need to know to make it look real that you're a firefighter. Like a firefighter would never reach for something like this. This is how they would do it, right? We do that with firearms. So yeah, if you need to play a Navy SEAL or a special agent, like we certainly don't want you teacupping like they used to do in the old days, right? Like, you know, you gotta grip the gun the right way, and depending on what type of gun as well, single or double hand. So yeah, we train people in one day, not me, but there are courses for 1 day, 3-day courses, workshops on all kinds of firearms training, but you're a Marine. You actually know how to do it. Like you didn't go, I mean, how good can you be with a firearm after a 3-day certification course? Come on, right?
Right.
So that's the difference, right? You're gonna hold a gun, you're gonna point a gun, you're gonna draw a gun, you're gonna put a gun away, you're gonna clean a gun much differently than an actor who did a one-time course, and they've got the certificate to prove, right, that they've got the training.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? You already have many, many, many advantages working for you, okay? So here's the average or above average actor coming into the business. Here's you with Marine, right? And all the skills of a Marine, right? Boot camp, firearms training, hand-to-hand combat, close range combatives, right? All the military intelligence, right? And then as a firefighter, like you are like levels above. And if you only, not that you have to, if you only went after those roles, there's plenty of them. You only went after military, right? Or fire department, law enforcement type of roles. There's no shortage of those, ever, okay? And that's a great place to start. You start with what you're already good at, with what you can already play, right?
Absolutely.
So having never gone to med school, but you're a fireman. You're trained in CPR, and I don't know all the different certifications and courses that you've had, but could you play a paramedic?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna even take, yeah.
So you see now not just firefighter, but now there are roles that are very closely related that you've been around it. You may never have done it, but you have some skills and knowledge, but you're around it. You work together with these people all the time, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So now you can then take your two base foundation character roles, right? Marine, firefighter, and now you can start filling in all of those other sub roles that are very closely related, people that work in conjunction with you that are going to be right for you, right? And this is how you then start to expand your reach because you already have the background, the knowledge, the technical expertise, right? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Any questions?
No, sir.
So we started this conversation and you said you felt like you were stuck. You couldn't do this without leaving this. It was one or the other. First, you need to make a decision because otherwise everything is going to be unknown to you, right? And let's leave the things that we don't know about yet for later. Let's start making decisions and taking actions. The two greatest problems in humanity, not knowing what you want and knowing what you want, but not knowing how to get it. So you need to decide. You know what you want now, right? But you don't know how to get it. But now that you know what you want, you need to make a commitment. You need to make a decision. In this moment of recognition, you've identified the problem. You've identified now the solution, what you want. Yes, I want to commit to this. Right?
Yeah.
What do you want to commit to?
Yeah, I'm gonna commit to acting.
Great. Now we're going to move forward. Okay? So
Absolutely.
how did that feel saying it?
Like a weight off my shoulders.
Okay, in the moment of decision, I want you to take an action because the hardest thing is to get started, but when you take the first step, it's much easier to build momentum, right? So in this moment of decision, take an action. I want you to tell him what your new commitment is.
I'm gonna do that right now.
Right now. Yeah, literally. This way it's done. You've already done it and you've put it out there to the world, and that's going to help with accountability. But this way you don't have to overthink it. Like you're going to do it. And then I'll explain to you what you can do to start taking those steps. Okay?
All set. It's done.
Done. Great.